So there is a book I read years ago, and I originally bought it just as a keepsake, and because it had such an impact on me and changed the way I began to see things. Um, the book it was written by Nick Land, and I don't know what I'm going to do right now if anyone else has really talked about this, but even if they have, maybe I still have something to add. So, so as everyone can see, the title of the book comes from the first book he published back in the 90s, Thirst for Annihilation. Within one of its chapters, and yeah, I won't go into all his heavy philosophical keywords he used just when philosophy of horror, capitalism, and culture all start melting together due to the accelerationism. But the real question that comes up is why fanged noumena? So basically, the question is why fanged noumena? Why did Neckland take the calm Kantian noumenon, the thing in itself, and suddenly make it sprout teeth? Why turn a sterile philosophical concept into predator? And yeah, so to get it, we have to go back to Kant because the first strike against him is the discover and this discovery he himself couldn't admit. The big secret is that the reason, the so-called necessary reason, never really knows anything at all. It just falls into the transcendental, the space free from reality, free from matter, and free from flesh. And this freedom isn't power. It's the most beautiful lie in the Western philosophy. It's the trick where philosophy pretends it's building eternal truths, but really, it's just telling immaculate myths. A cathedral of concept about souls, gods, morality, reward, punishment, a whole church floating above the world, untouched by dirt and untouched by blood. And Kant's critique wasn't liberation, it was hysteria. It was like Luther terrified of a crumbling Christianity, except Kant was terrified of Hume's atheism and the absurdity of theology. So he invented critique as not as a revolution against the system, but as a revolution in service of the system to keep the edifice standing. And here is why Nick Land chose in, because for Land this nomenon isn't some neutral outside. It's fanged, it's hungry, and it's no limit. It's an infection trying to get in. And philosophy tells you the nomenon is a locked door, but on the other hand, it's a mouth with dripping teeth waiting for you to knock. And if you zoom out, you see how it maps onto modernity because nothing today is stable. Every idea is consumed and discarded like cars and gadgets. And critique itself becomes a tool of dissolution. Everything melts into acceleration, into madness, into invention, um, and modernity looks less like progress and more like fairness, eating every certainty alive. And that's the moment land logs onto capital and says they are the same machine, both are critique, both are endless, dissolving processes, both expand without end, both hide a terrifying contradiction. And the infinite task can describe isn't transcendence, it's the same infinity as capital, a mission with no conclusion. An endless growth only stops in collapse. And to go back like more to German idealism, and yeah, then sure Hegel tried to fix this, but he tried to fold infinity into a system, a rational dialect where contradiction is embraced and organized, but all he really did was trap everyone in mud. And after Hegel, everyone got stuck. Even Bataille's writing drips with it, dirty, with dirty with dialect. And after this, to make it between brackets, so I never uh, read only the half of the book, the world as a will and representation by Schopenhauer. So I just like read this through the thirst for annihilation. So after this, like Schopenhauer like tried to emerge as a rupture pointing at a will at and created matter at chaos as the core of existence, no God, no order, just blind force. And from this, uh, Nietzsche, Freud, Bataille emerged, turning will and desire and then conscious into the critique, not of knowledge, but of existence itself. It's a pessimism against the great being, against God, against optimism itself. A critique not that builds, but that dissolves. And then Nietzsche comes swinging with his hammer, saying, "Okay, man must be surpassed. Christianity was a pathetic barricade against cosmic creativity, uh, and the Overman isn't an ideal form; it's a planetary artwork, an experiment with." Uh, an experiment with no final blueprint, and just notice like how every attempt to escape just collapse again. So there is that Heidegger and Derrida, even this deconstructions is called out not as destruction but as recycling of metaphysics, theology smuggled back in through language. So what are we left with after Kant, after Hegel, after all of them? Only disillusion, uh, and only history where everything melts. Critique itself becomes commodity, becomes fashion, becomes another product on the shelf, waiting to expire. Um, and this is the atmosphere of fanged noumena. It's the recognition that philosophy tried to hide the abyss, but the abyss isn't passive. It's aggressive. It's chewing through the walls, and the noumenon isn't a blank silence. It's predator, and the outside it isn't nothingness. It's surplus. Uh, it's pressure. It's appetite, and it's speed. So what Nick Land telling us that the noumenon he's showing us is what happens when it breaks, when the firewall can't build, get shredded, when capital intelligence, the artificial intelligence, the cybernetic infection pours in, um, the nomenon isn't contemplate contemplated. It's called like a disease.